Hi friend, I'm Katie Hunt, ACSM personal trainer, and I'm so glad you clicked on this video and opened it. Please take it all the way to the end. I promise we're gonna cover a lot of things that are gonna help you out. Foam rolling is like brushing your teeth. I really look at it the same way as brushing my teeth and brushing my hair. It's something that you want to do regularly and then head into your massage therapist for your regular deep cleanings. But this is gonna keep you in a great place of feeling less pain, more mobile, and just overall more energy. So why wouldn't we do it, right? All right, let's get started. So we'll begin in a standing position and do our feet first. The muscles in the lower leg all attach at your feet, so I always do my feet and want to take really good care of them. In this part of the demo, I am showing a small trigger point roller. You could also use a frozen water bottle. That can be really helpful if you have a lot of pain in your feet. And then I'm gonna move on eventually to using a ball, which is a really easy, you can find a tennis ball super easy at the store. And we'll begin with our feet, so step on the ball. And then what you're trying to do is just pause on any tender spots. So you could do this while you're watching TV, you could do it a couple times a day. Just take a few minutes on your feet and even follow that with some deep stretching of the foot muscles. Excellent. Remember, spend time on those tender spots before you move on. Next up, we're going to do our calves. Before we come down to the ground, I'm going to have you do a quick standing test. So I'm going to have you stand with your feet about hip width, feet rooted into the floor, and hinging from your hips. I just want you to fold forward. Let your hands dangle down towards the floor and just make a quick mental note of where your fingertips are in relation to the ground. We're going to come back to that at the end. All right, let's have you join me on the floor. We're gonna roll out our calves using the roller. So I'm starting in a seated position and I'm resting, or I put the foam roller right under the middle of my left calf muscles. Then for a little more pressure, you can cross your right ankle over your left leg, and you can either bend and straighten your knee, so keeping your booty on the floor, just bend and straighten the knee, or you can lift up off the ground and move forward and back that way. So whatever works the best for your body. It does require some arm strength and core strength to lift up through the hips as you're working this area. Now, one other thing I'm doing as I'm foam rolling my calves is I'm also shifting my legs a little bit side to side when I find those tender spots. So we call that a little smashing in the world of trigger point therapy, but that can feel really good, that side to side, left to right motion on those tender spots. Or just like we did with our feet, you can just kind of settle into the tender spot and rest there. Now here I am showing a different way to roll your calves out using a ball. What you want to make sure of if you're doing it this way though is you're going to keep your arms almost straight. Mine could even be a little straighter more straight in this video, so that you're not using a ton of arm strength. You're actually using your body weight to apply pressure into the calves. Now I have super tender, very tight calves, so this is an area I spend a lot of time in and definitely feel major rewards from working this area. So awesome. To make sure you do both sides, and then we're gonna move on to our hamstrings. Oh, hold up. We gotta think about the calves for a minute. Just take a second and think about how much they're used all day. So these are the muscles that are running from below your knee to your heels. So stairs, walking, running, any kind of exercise you're doing, they are working all day long. So congratulations for taking care of them. All right, hamstrings, here we come. Oh, those glorious, strong, slender muscles that make up the back of the upper leg. Here we go. It's time to take care of them. I'm starting off this demo by showing rolling both hamstrings or both legs at the same time. So I don't find this to be the most comfortable. My roller is a little bit narrow, so if you have a wider or longer roller, that might be a great way for you to do it. I also like to switch to a single leg version of this just because it does increase the intensity for those muscles that we're targeting in the backs of the legs. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my right leg for a nice base of support. I've got my foot flat. This is another one of those rolling positions that's going to require some arm strength and some core strength. And then what we're doing is functioning just like the calves. We're just moving up and down the back of the upper half of the leg this time. So from the knee up towards that gluteal fold. You don't want to go over the back of your knee, please. And then you could also switch to this position that I'm showing right here. It's a hurdler's stretch. If your knees are really healthy and that's comfortable for you, that's going to be the most intense version of this. Now, with the hamstring rolling, also pause on those tender spots. Maybe do that little side to side mashing motion and take care of both legs. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna move on to the glutes. Take your time in any one of these that needs more attention. You've got time. All right, glutes on deck next. Here we go. Let's begin on our back with the ball close to you. Lie on your back and cross your right ankle over your left knee. Then what we're gonna do is place the ball under your glutes on your right side. So you might just tilt a little bit to the left, tuck that ball underneath you, and then you're just gonna roll slightly to the side. You're probably gonna have to move the ball around, and again, you're just looking for those tender spots. When you find them, pause there. You might not want to. You might find some real hot spots in there, but know that this work is going to keep your body nice and healthy. So you can also experiment with taking that right knee and opening it up to the side. So I'm just dropping my right knee towards the floor, keeping my opposite leg bent so it's that nice counterbalance. And then up next, I'm going to demonstrate how I like to roll my glutes using my roller. So we're going to target that same zone. I'm going to prop myself up on that little bit of an angle, so I'm on the smooshy part of my butt right there. And then I'm going to cross my the side that I'm working. I'm going to cross that foot. So here it's my left foot over my right knee, and I'm rolling my left glute. So that position is just doing a great job of kind of opening up that space for you to work into it with the roller. Using the roller is going to be slightly less intense than the ball for most of us. So then you're sliding up and down. You can go up to about your pant line and pause on those hot spots. Do that little mashing side to side action. Take good care of those glutes. They sure take good care of us. Okay, so we're gonna move up the body slightly to our lats. Oh man, if you made it this far, this is a good one. The lats do not get nearly enough attention in my opinion. I always like to remind people that the lats are a respiratory muscle. So they're connected to your breathing pattern. So imagine that if these muscles get tight, it's going to affect your breathing. So hopefully that's enough to get you on the roller and work this spot. So what I'm doing is I'm on my side. I've got my lower arm extended and my palm is facing up. That's kind of a key thing on this. And then the roller is resting beneath my armpit. I'm not rolling my armpit. It's beneath that. And then I'm slightly tilting back, or at about 45 degrees, leaning back, making sure my core is strong. And then you can slide your arm that's resting on the floor. You can slide it kind of up towards your head and then back down towards your shoulder to really work through this muscle area. So one more note on this, you'll see that I have my legs bent. That's providing me a nice base of support while I work this area. It really helps me balance, so I don't have to think about that. And again, you're kind of tilting your weight, the weight of your upper body back, so that you can find the lats and give them some attention. Super. And before we move on, might I recommend finding a massage therapist that's good at working those lats too. Okay, so next up, we're gonna roll our upper back. This is a great one. It just feels good. It's an easy position for most of us to be in. My only note of caution on this is just make sure you don't roll the lower back. So I'm moving on this one. So I'm lying on the roller. You can either keep your buns on the ground or lift them up depending on your core strength and what you feel like. You can also alternate arm positions. So I started out supporting my head and my hands to relieve any pressure off of the neck. But then to open up those upper back muscles, I'm crossing my arms in front of my body. So completely. Make sure that you listen to your neck, especially on that one. It does require some core strength. That one could also be done against the wall, so you might have to be in a little bit of a wall sit to do that, but that can be great. So to get a little bit more targeted work, we're gonna grab our ball. Correction, this is going to be much more targeted work. Since we're using a small ball, it's really going to get into some great spaces in our back. So while you're using the ball on your back, I usually start right next to like the bottom part of my shoulder blade. So I'm right in that space between my shoulder blade and my spine. We're going to make sure we don't go over the spine with the ball. And then I'm just kind of gradually working my way up higher and higher. Now, once you get into those upper trap muscles, so as you get closer, to your ears, you might want to take your arm up to that little fainting position with the hand, so back of the hand against your forehead, and you might move a little bit side to side, just working in a space that's not horribly uncomfortable for you. So there is probably going to be some discomfort if there's any tightness, any knots in that space. That's very common for a lot of us. So just take your time and breathe through this one. The ball at this point, since you can't see it, is really underneath my upper traps. Feels great. Super. While we're here, we're going to continue with a little more targeted work on our trapezius and our rhomboid. So the ball is still placed on my upper back muscles. It's between my shoulder blade and my spine right now on that upper part of my back. And then what I'm going to do is take my arm through that range of motion from having my arm right next to my side to bringing it up next to my ear. Now just proceed with caution, work with the range of motion that you have. Let's not force our way through anything, but this is a great foam release technique to practice to maintain shoulder health. So again, just work with the range of motion that you've got. I'm slowly kind of shimmying down, working that ball higher into my traps while I continue to take my arm through that same range of motion. So let's make sure that we do both sides to take care of each half of our body equally, and then we'll move on. Great job. Yes, we're going to turn onto our sides and we're going to take care of our adductors, or the inner thighs. So I'm going to have you lay on your side. You can support your head with your arm, or you could also use a pillow. That'd be lovely. And then we're going to place our top leg on the roller. So I have a bent leg here, and what I'm doing is just moving up and down the inside of my leg. You could also experiment here with straightening your leg, flexing your foot, and just feeling how that changes it. Most of us are going to be pretty tender when we get down closer to the knee. That's a great area to take care of, especially my runners out there. You also might find, just listen to the low back on this one, you might find that turning to a face down position can apply a little bit extra pressure on those adductors that can feel really good. You might feel like you're working a little bit less to get more pressure into that area. So take care of both sides, and then we're going to move on to the fronts of our legs for our quad action. The quads are a spot where a lot of us could use a lot of attention. So I'm starting my demonstration with both legs on the roller. Again, a little wider, longer roller is going to work better for this. I'm just fitting my legs on my grid roller here, but still feels good, still works. With both legs on, it's going to be a little bit less pressure than when we do single leg. So I'm just going to move right on here to doing single leg work so that I can really get into those glorious quad muscles. So I have my right leg bent and out to the side so that it balances me. I'm working here on my elbows. Sometimes I see people doing this with straight arms, and that can just be a little strenuous on your low back. So I would suggest working on your forearms. Keep that core nice and strong. And then I'm working from the top of the knee all the way up to my hip. Again, never going any bone. Rotating slightly inwards, slightly outward, making sure I cover all that ground in the quad muscles muscles. They're big muscles in there that can cause all kinds of dysfunction. So best we take care of them. For even more pressure, what I'm doing right there is bending the leg that I'm working on. That's going to increase the intensity significantly. And then I'm gonna switch myself on over. I'm gonna work on the other side. So, always make sure that you do both sides, even if one side is causing you a little more pain than the other. Just take the time, give both legs the attention that they need. So here goes again. And I'm also using that mashing technique one more time on the quads. So when I find that tender spot, I'm moving slightly side to side. Fantastic. We're gonna move on to our pecs. Awesome. I'm gonna call this one the bonus because we don't spend a lot of time rolling our pecs, but it's a really important area, especially with that rounded posture that a lot of us are getting to. If you work at a desk or you're on your phone a lot, this is a great way to open up those front body muscles that can be super tight. Okay, so what I'm doing with the roller is I've got it on an angle and placed underneath my pecs. This is a really painful spot for me. You don't want to be in the room while I'm working this area, but that's also why I do it every day. So working with the roller, it's a tiny movement. And just try to relax and breathe through this. To get that more targeted work again, I'm gonna grab the ball. So now the ball is between my body and the floor, and I'm just resting on it, kind of moving around maybe an inch at a time, finding those tender spots, breathing into it, just settling myself into it. I'm really getting lost in the moment here, but just a great way to very passively restore and release those pec muscles. You could also do this in a seated position. I actually have this, a ball, my trigger point ball. Here I'm using a racket ball, but I have my trigger point ball at my office desk, and I try to work this in these muscles as well. If they're tight, they're going to restrict your breathing. So if you've got a big meeting coming up, take a few seconds, roll out your pecs. All I'm doing here is I'm stacking my palms and just applying light pressure. So you're not rubbing the ball over your skin. You're actually pressing that ball into the muscles, maybe moving a little bit side to side, noticing and responding and pausing on the tender spots, and making sure you're breathing deep the whole time. I try to sit up as tall as possible while I'm doing this. And there you have it, toe to head foam rolling. All right, last thing we're gonna do, hop back up to your feet, find yourself in that forward fold position, so hips over your feet, hinge from your hips, and then give yourself that checkpoint. Where are your fingertips in relation to the floor now? My guess is you found a lot more length in your body and your fingertips are even closer to the ground. How does that feel? Tell me all about it in the comments below. Let me know what you want to see next, and subscribe if you want to get my new videos first. Thank you.